This is Baruch. I'm here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I'm moving through the ninth Seder here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. We're learning. I'll give you a look at this. These are the words of the Aryeh Kaplan anthology. Apparently, there's more than one book. I just got this one book, and here it is. And we're going to learn what we can and see what he has to say. Now, we're working on the 13 principles laid out by the great Rabbi Maimonides, also known as Moshe ben Maimon. Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon is where we refer to him as the Rambam. Now, the words here's a big, for those of you who are not that familiar with Hebrew, this is a very big letter Hey. And the idea of the Hey is to let you know Hey is also a number. It's a letter, and it's also a number. It's the number 5, and this is the 5th in this series of 13 different principles of Jewish faith. Now let's listen carefully. He says, Ani Ma'amim, I believe the Emunah Shalem in a complete faith. Complete faith. Shehabara Yisbarach Shemo, that the Creator, may his name be blessed. Lo Levado, it is him only. Ro Lehispalo, only to him. So I'll translate it different. To him only is it fit to pray. Vein Roy Lehispalo also, and it is not fit to be prayed to anything else. This becomes a big problem for Christianity, I think, but maybe the Christians don't think so. Let's read the translation here of Rabbi Kaplan. I believe with perfect faith that it is only proper to pray to God. One may not pray to anyone or anything else. Now, the little principle that comes out of this song, Yigdal, is he is the Lord of the world and all things created. Display his greatness and his majesty. I guess it's all things created, display his greatness and his majesty. Now let's read the Rambam's commentary on the Mishnah. He says the fifth principle teaches us that God is the only one whom we may serve and praise. We may sing only of his greatness and obey only his commandments. We may not act in any way toward anything beneath him, whether it be an angel, a star, one of the elements, or any combination of them. All these have a predetermined nature, and therefore none can have authority or free will. Only God has these attributes. Now remember, what he's saying is that the Jew believes that God is inside of everything. Also outside, but that's a different issue. But if God is inside of everything and everything is clothed around his essence, which we have no basis of understanding, that's how you can say this. It is therefore not proper to serve these things or make them intermediates to bring us closer to God. All our thoughts should be directly only towards him. Nothing else should even be considered. This fifth principle forbids all forms of idolatry, and it constitutes a major portion of the Torah. Now, this is the code of Jewish law by the Rambam, from his Yad Chazaka, and it's in a section called Avodas Kochavim, that is worshiping stars. In the days of Enosh, mankind succumbed to a grave error, demolishing the advice of the wise men living in that time. Enosh himself was among those who were caught up in this mistaken idea. This was their error. They argued that God created stars and spheres with which to control the world, placing them on high and giving them honor. These creations are then the servants who minister to him, and is therefore fitting to praise, glorify, and honor them. Certainly God would want us to honor and praise those whom he himself elevates and honors. They compared God to an earthly king who wishes his subject to honor those who stand before him, since this in itself demonstrates their respect for the king. Now, following this false line of reasoning, they began to build temples to the stars and offer them sacrifices. They praised and glorified them with words and bowed down before them. They, that is Enosh and his contemporaries, had become so confused and mistaken that they felt they were actually fulfilling God's will in this manner. This is the foundation of what we call idol worship. Idolaters who really understand their belief also conceive it in this way. They never claim that there is no God other than that's the star that they worship. The prophet Jeremiah spoke of this when he said this quote, "Who would not fear you, O King of nations? It is your due. For among all the wise ones of the nations of their kingdoms, there is none like you. For in one respect, they are fools and simpletons. The vanities that they preach are nothing more than a block of wood. They all know that God is unique, but their error is in thinking that their idolatry, which is really foolishness, is God's will." The main commandment regarding idolatry is not to worship anything that God created, whether it be an angel, a sphere, a star, one of the elements, or anything created from them. Even though one knows that God is the true God, that our God, that is Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, that name, the name of the Tetragrammaton, and only worship this thing in this manner that Enosh and his generations first did, he's still an idolater. So you know that there's a God, there's a true God, but you still walk in the ways of Enosh. The Torah thus warns us, do not lift your eyes to the heavens and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the host of heaven, and be drawn to worship and serve them, which the Lord your God has allotted to all peoples. You shall not let your mind's eye rove and think that these control the world. You might see that they continue to exist and do not deteriorate, then mistakenly think that one must bow down to them and serve them. The Torah likewise says, watch yourselves, lest your hearts be deceived and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. You should not be deceived by the thoughts of your hearts to serve these and make them intermediaries between you and God. So you pray to Mercury, and Mercury will do for you whatever to bring you the smarts you need. Let's say whatever you need at this time, you think that Mercury's going to do it. Okay, then let's come down to this. 5 are in the category of the non-believer. Now, in Hebrew, the word for non-believer is called a min. One who serves a star or constellation in order that it be an advocate between him and the master of all the worlds. Now, how this works out so well for the idolater is that since you don't have to actually face the master of the world who is moral, you could really get around it. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this has been the Ani Maimon series. This has been the 5th principle of Maimonides.